Hello, random man in your 20s working a miserable job. I got this job right here straight out of college at 21. But I was just before I turned 24 able to quit that job and now for the last year do whatever the hell I want, mainly because I'm able to make this 103K completely solo. But previous to that, I did fuck up multiple times and I lost over 83K because I listened to the advice online of random gurus who didn't really do it themselves. They probably had a job, they actually needed money, and they sell some cheap $99 course, which is what's actually funding their freedom by taking your ability to get freedom away by wasting your money. You don't want any of that anymore, which is why you're here listening to me, clearly the most credible, factual, proven person on the internet, in order to get out of your job in the next 2 to 5 years and be pretty much completely set to do whatever you want by 28. Evident by my six-pack. But keep in mind, I don't have no magic business model for you that's guaranteed everybody can do 100% guaranteed success to earn financial freedom. I'm not going to tell you to grind 16 hours a day, enter ghost mode for 100% guaranteed success. And I'm not going to tell you some super secret special way in order to just only chase your passions, ignore the rules of the world, never need money again, and just be happy all the time. Because all of that shit is either unrealistic, doesn't actually work, and people only say it to scam you out of your money, or it's simply trading one miserable state for another. Like, you're already in a miserable state. Why do you need to grind all day in something that you don't even enjoy? One miserable for another isn't what you're looking for. So honestly, I'm basically going to tell you the exact opposite of all the common advice, but it is what worked for me. So if that makes sense to you and you want to continue listening, I sound credible enough for you, then here is the first lie and what to actually do instead, or what I actually did instead. It's the golden business model or career. It doesn't exist. So think about this, and I sort of mentioned it a little bit already. You'll make money, but you won't escape. Like, you see tons of people on there like, oh yeah, just start an AI business, start drop shipping, start FBA. I don't know if people actually do that nowadays, but years ago they did. Or start some e-commerce business, start some sort of agency, and just grind really hard on it. But what you really want out of your freedom, like the true goal, is to go into a state where you can make money, but enjoy yourself more. So why would you ever want to simply just grind? You're in a cage right now of your job, which is a miserable state. You're kind of trapped because you need money to survive. But then if you build your own cage, basically, and then you force yourself to work in order to make the money, probably more money than you make in your job, maybe. But it's just simply building another cage and locking yourself inside. It doesn't achieve the actual goal that you're going for, which is to be out of your miserable state and have it sustainable. So the real thing that you need to do here, and what I really did, and of course, this is going to be different for everybody. Every single person will have a different business model, a different career that works best for them in order to get whatever freedom that they're looking for, to do whatever they want. So the way that I like to think about it is that a vehicle doesn't actually make you a good driver. So looking at the previous model of just looking for the golden business model, the thing that makes the most money, the next hot trend like AI, you're basically just buying a lottery ticket and hoping to win in that case. It's taking you out of the equation. Versus if you think about say a vehicle or a business model, it doesn't automatically make you able to drive it just because you have a good business model. It doesn't automatically make you able to make it profitable. Simply realize that you are way more important than any business model that you could possibly pick, the skills that you have. But in order to actually build the skills and then pick a business model or career that you actually enjoy, and honestly, business model and career, they're very similar. Just simply you join someone else's business model that you enjoy. And the benefits of a career is that you just are able to focus more on the skill aspect other than the little business operation stuff that you need to do. So the first thing is learning versus learning. Most people learn, which is they read about the business model. They read about the manual. They read about, how do you drive? Well, you press on the gas pedal to get gas. You turn the wheel to turn. But think about this. Until you actually got into the car and actually started driving, turning the wheel, pressing the gas, you never actually learned how to drive. You can read about it all you want. And it's the same for any business model, any career, any car, any vehicle, like driving a motorcycle, driving an actual car, driving a truck, driving an airplane. Until you get into it, you're never actually going to learn how to drive. Until you actually start doing the business, you're never going to learn how to drive or start making it money, which is kind of like the motion of a business, earning money. And in the sense of a career, that's just getting the skills to do the interview, do the networking, and then also the actual skills to get the job so you can actually be qualified for the job in the first place and then get it. That's how you get the skills. But secondly, if you hate your vehicle, you won't drive it. So sure, you can drive it for 1, 2, 3 years, maybe just grind through. But if you hate the interior, like it's uncomfortable, maybe the seat hurts your back, the ergonomics is a little shit for the wheel, hurts your shoulder, maybe it's a bit too cramped in the car, you hate the color, you don't like the overall design, you don't even want to step into the car, let alone look at it. You never maintenance it, so the car just falls apart. It's the same thing for a business. If you don't like how the business is, you don't like the topic of business, you don't like how the lifestyle that you have in the business, then it's not going to work for you. You're not going to continue to want to do it. Like, sure, you can force yourself, right? But that's not what allows you to get the skills. You have to put in the time and just keep doing it. And over the iterations of you doing more and more different things for that particular business, then you learn what really works and what doesn't work, which makes it actually work. So you have to enjoy to some extent, whether that's intellectual or you generally just enjoy the thing. Like it could be almost like a hobby for you. And the third thing, which is really about shiny objects, people switching all the time because they're like, oh yeah, I'm not getting results, or you know, my vehicle is not moving forward. I can't drive correctly. I never get to my destination. Well, that's usually because you haven't quite realized that a car is not a plane, which is not a motorcycle, which is not rollerblades, which is not roller skates, which is not a skateboard, which is not a scooter. Every single vehicle is different. If you switch to a completely type of vehicle, so for example, if you are really good at running an e-commerce business and you've ran this e-commerce business for a while, you can probably run a different type of e-commerce business. Like you run one in skincare, you run one in supplements. They're kind of the same. They have the same fundamental skills about them. But if you suddenly, oh shit, I'm going to go start day trading, this is a completely different skill set. Literally nothing transfers over. So it's like going from a motorcycle to trying to drive an airplane. It doesn't work at all. But it doesn't mean that you can't change at all. You can still change from like driving a truck to driving like a regular sedan car, or driving a sports motorcycle to driving a more normal motorcycle, or a naked motorcycle, if you know about that. Or you go from one sales job to a different sales job in a different industry. Or if you're like a coder, for example, like my brother, he'd rather do a career, he's a programmer, he'd rather work for a company because he doesn't like the business aspects. He just likes to learn about programming. He could just switch to a different company if he didn't really like the thing that they were building, the thing that they made him program. Or if he just, of course, didn't really like the work environment in general. And I guess that sort of covers this last one, which is if you can drive a motorcycle, you can drive any motorcycle. Of course, you have to learn the fine details, right? Once you, say, have a skincare e-commerce company and then you switch to a supplement e-commerce company because maybe you like supplements a little bit more, you still have to learn the fine details like, oh, how do you market supplements versus skincare? How do you actually get the supplements versus skincare? Are there any additional regulations for selling supplements over skincare? These fine details you have to relearn, but the overall how to run an e-commerce business with consumer products, those fundamental skills are all the same and can carry over, and you're really good at that. And that makes the finer details much faster to learn, just like a motorcycle, right? You can drive the motorcycles, but maybe like the turn signals are a little different, or maybe the foot pegs are in a little bit different position, or just it feels different to turn, or maybe the gears are a little different. So pick the vehicle that you like to drive and then drive it as much as possible. That's the first and most fundamental thing, because you, of course, need to actually have something to replace your miserable situation. But at the same time, when you're putting time into this, whatever vehicle that you chose, whatever business model, whatever career, in order to get into it or get really good at or actually make it profitable, a lot of people tell you,
oh yeah, you just gotta go in ghost mode and you gotta grind. There's something you gotta grind through. Just go completely silent, get rid of all your friends, and just work. That's all you need to do.
And they tell you, oh yeah, it's just a lonely peak out there. Once you start to self-improve and you start making profit, you're going to be lonely all the time. And I think this is very untrue, and it's actually is holding a lot of people back in making progress in whatever it is that you eventually choose for a business model or career, because you end up just have like an echo chamber in your mind. You have like, oh, is this going to work? Or I'm not getting results, or should I do this? Should I not do this? And you keep going back and forth and you never really make any progress. If you never really make any progress, or maybe you never even start something in the first place because you're all alone, never really get any feedback, don't really know what to do, then okay, you just get stuck in your miserable job and then you never really escape. And by the end of your life, you're never going to have achieved anything. So really the alternative here is, of course, to be alone, but in a specific way, and then ideally not to be alone, and there's 3 different ways to do that. So being alone is better than being with degenerates, doubters, or wannabes. Degenerates are like literally people doing drugs all the time. They literally never do anything with themselves. They just scroll on TikTok in all their free time, and they hate their lives, but they do nothing about it. They only complain. Stay away from those people, and you probably already know that, right? Or doubters. People that like, oh yeah, I hate the fucking rich people. They always just scam people, and they just, for whatever reason, have this kind of thought in their mind that being successful is a bad thing, or that it's impossible to get there. It's a completely unrealistic thing to believe, and you probably already know that already. But if you have people around you that are always saying that, eventually it's going to get in your head. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should just work my job. Maybe this is really it. Maybe I can't really do it. Maybe that's just for only lucky people, and I'm not like a lucky person. Get that out of your mind, because you 100% can do it. You just haven't put in enough time yet. And that also gets into staying away from the wannabes. Like, I had coworkers myself. They're always saying shit like, oh yeah, we should start this business. We should start that business. Or I'm going to start this business. And they always talk. They never do shit. Literally never do shit. They might start a little something super easy. Like, oh yeah, look at this logo. I'm going to start this business. And they get all hypey. They hype everybody up. I was like, oh yeah, you should join me. I'll hire you for my business. They never do shit. All right. Those people, you can realize pretty fast within a couple of weeks if they actually don't just like fucking do the work. Then just don't pay too much attention to them. And I mean, don't shit on them either. That's a waste of your time. But just if you're around that kind of thing all the time, you're also going to realize, okay, maybe this job is it, and then you're going to be a wannabe too. And if this is all you have around you, that's the kind of situation where at least in real life you want to be alone. You'd rather be alone. But think about this: if you're around killers, as like a lot of billionaires call it, like literally, the sharks, the killers, whatever you want to call it. If you are around killers, you will be a killer yourself. If you're around really successful people, eventually you're going to be successful because they're just going to say random shit. And that like random passing thought of their mind for them is something super valuable for you that might be actually super helpful. So there's 3 ways to go about doing this. Obviously, it's not easy at all. You could be around people that are actually in the process of trying to be successful. So people actually putting in the work, not like wannabes. People that have done it. So this is sort of like a mentor situation. And maybe some people have communities built, or they have some sort of service that you could buy, which could help you. Maybe you started running a business and there's a person that's already done it and they sell some sort of consulting service. That is an option. But a lot of you don't want either of those. So the indirect option is obviously to very much curate what you watch online. So personally, I pretty much watch like Alex Becker, Alex Hormozy. There's a few other people, but I think their advice is very good, and they have done it themselves. So they were kind of in like a broke situation. They had a job, and eventually they got out of the job and built a business. If you only follow people like that, or maybe myself, and sure, I'm not going to tell you how to make millions of dollars because I haven't done it like them, but I can at the very least tell you what I've done to just simply get out of my job, which is the very next step that you are trying to take, I assume. You follow people like that, and you take their advice and you try it for yourself, and you essentially start to see what doesn't work and what works for you, and that's what keeps you moving forward. But alternatively, actually, since I am a small creator, and I'm making this video months in advance, so I have no idea how many views I'm going to get. But as far as I can tell, I'm not going to get shit for views, which is why I do have a 3-minute diagnostic in the description where you can tell me about your problems if you're stuck on what business model, what vehicle that you actually want to get, you're not really certain about it, or you have something and you're stuck on it for whatever reason. You can take that diagnostic down in the description, tell me about it. I actually read all of them and reply with specific guidance to help you get unstuck completely for free. And honestly, the diagnostic itself is very helpful if you want to take it. Top in the description. If not, let's get into the 3rd lie, which is needing money. You don't need money to start any of these business models, any of these careers. I mean, particularly a career. You probably already know this, right? You should instead think about money like this. It buys time to take risk on something that is more ROI, not something to ROI with, and it's also not something to spend down. And what I mean by that, if I just list it out. So spend, ROI, or time. Spending, of course, you know what it is. It's just buying random ass shit that you don't really need just because you want it. Like you buy a watch, or I have an alpaca overcoat that I wore like 5 times that cost $700 that I bought custom, which is sort of a waste of money. When you are making the transition from a job or whatever miserable state that you're in to trying to build something, you want to cut out these costs as much as possible. And that's because you want the money to do something else that's more productive, not just spend it on something that doesn't do anything. So there's the ROI stuff now. In this case, you might think, oh, well, why wouldn't I want to spend my money on something that makes money? And this is typically what a lot of people think of as investments. And usually that means like stocks, crypto. The reason why you don't really want to do this is because building a business and trading, those are actually kind of business models or careers pursuits in themselves. So for example, if you started crypto trading or stock trading while you're building a business, this ends up consuming a lot of your money or a lot of your time to build up this skill of trading stocks or trading crypto, which then basically dilutes your ability to learn the business because it takes whatever portion of your time, like half your time. So it makes it twice as long in order to make the business that you were doing successful. And also, usually the ability to invest in things, in vehicles, essentially looking at vehicles and finding ones that drive the best and also people that can drive them the best, which is essentially what investing is. You build that skill and not the ability to actually drive a vehicle yourself. Completely different skill set, which is why you avoid investments or things that ROI, unless, of course, that is the thing that the vehicle in a sense that you actually choose. I guess that would be kind of like more like an airplane, and then you like spot vehicles that move really well. That's the kind of view you can think about that. But if you want to build your own business, which is what I'm sort of starting right now, like I actually made that 103K doing investments. But as you can see, I'm making these videos. So I'm starting to get into the business stuff too, since I'm pretty time efficient with the trading. Now for the time aspect, which is basically just survival. So you, of course, you need to pay your rent. You need somewhere to live. You need to buy food in order to eat so you don't die. That's really the only limiter. That's the reason why you have to work your job, right? You need money to get those things to survive. So that also means that is what's going to buy you the amount of time that you need in order to build up the skills for whatever business that you're creating. And if you say, and of course, you can kind of do your own research here, but I do really think that it only takes probably 2 to 5 years on the upper end in order to make a business successful if you're really dedicating your time to it. So if you continue to work your job and just be able to survive for the full 5 years and dedicate your free time to building the skills to drive, being able to drive, then that's what's going to make you successful in the long term. So these things here, the spending and trying to invest in things, unless investing is your main thing, it reduces the amount of money that you have, which basically reduces the amount of money that you have in order to survive, which if you just convert that over for however much money that you need to survive, it reduces the time. And that's the time that you need to actually escape. If you have no ability to survive, then you're always forced to continue just working the job. And you have to work more of the job. You have to work maybe more jobs to pay the bills that you have, which I guess you can take away 2 things from this. First of all, reduce these as much as possible. So reduce your cost of living as much as possible, which increases your time, gives you more time to learn the skills. And also, you can start to build up some savings, which may allow you to take that money and use it as a risk capacity. So time to survive, and put your time towards just dedicating to whatever business model or career that you really want. So any savings is your ability to take the risk and get out early. The alternative, of course, is actually making the thing profitable first before you leave. But some people, they want to take the risk. But that is a completely separate video, which I'll get into some other time. Either way, with that, you can start to realize that all you need is to be able to put in the time. Because if you think about it, very crucially, profit is what makes the vehicle, not passion. So if it can't move forward, it's not a vehicle. If it can't drive, it's not a vehicle. If it can't make profit, it's not a business. If it can't make profit, it's not a career either. That's just a hobby. But you still need to have interest in it in some way. And then all you have to do is yourself get enough time in order to build yourself into the person who can actually make the already profitable thing profitable. And of course, all that is left is to stay motivated and also maximize your time while having your 9 to 5, because that is very difficult to do both of these at the same time while having a 9 to 5. If you want to learn how to stay motivated, to keep practice driving your vehicle in any free time that you have, even after you're burnt to a crisp with your job, watch this video right here. Or if you want to learn how I maximize my time in order to get results to escape my job faster, then you can watch this video over here.